Today we're going to get more gooder at some three-note legato. Welcome back to Man the Helm. If you guys don't know, my name is Jake. I'm a guitar player, but today we're going to talk about some three-note legato ideas to try to get you much more gooder at the silky, move it up and down the neck, get breakneck speed without destroying that alternate picking hand. If you guys are new to this channel, please consider subscribing if you like this kind of content, if you really like this kind of content. Like, comment, do all that good stuff down below. Tones for today's video will be provided by this beautiful Jet 350 going into a Wampler gearbox with a little bit of delay from the Metaverse, and that'll be going into my Black Star Club 40 into my Focusrite Solo. So before we get into the actual playing, the legato sort of stuff, we need to come up with a foundation of knowledge as far as different shapes that we can use. Really, there are three main shapes. That's not the only ones that you can use, but we're going to talk about three main shapes that you can use. So for this, let's start on the 3rd fret of our low E. That's going to be kind of our home base, or where our index finger is going to hang out for the majority of these shapes, okay? So if we look at these three shapes, an easy way to think about it is we can think about it from the note we start on, whole step, whole step. So in this case, we're starting on this 3rd fret of this low E. So we'd go up from there, a hammer on, whole step, and then another hammer on, another whole step. So we're going from 3, 5, 7. We're going to go down to the A string and do that exact same thing. And when we're doing this, we're picking the first note, hammering on those next two. Same thing on the way back down. Whenever we do this, we're going to pick that first note, and now we're going to pull off those next two. The next common shape that you will come across is if we start again on that 3rd fret, we're going to go from where we start from. So that first note, we're going to go up a half step, then a whole step. So it would look like this. Now, whenever we're doing this, we're going from 3, 4 to 6. Remember, once again, we're picking that first note, hammering on those next two. Then we're going to work our way up in ascending order. Go to the A string, do the same pattern. D string. On the way back down, same thing as before. We're going to pick that first note and then pull off those next two. And the last shape we're going to talk about is, once again, starting from that 3rd fret, we're going to go up whole step and then a half step. So if in this example, we would have 3, 5, 6. Now what you should do is you should get really comfortable, really familiar with those shapes, and just run them as those shapes. Just a quick little practice warm up. Now you might be asking yourself, how do I use this in a practical application? Well, you can think about it in like sequencing these groups of notes in the context of something. Now, before we talk about the context of whatever we would use, let's talk about a good sequence idea to kind of get you going on this. This is a sequence that I've really enjoyed. It kind of helped me break into legato, and it'll probably serve you pretty well too. So let's take one of those common shapes. Let's do 3rd fret, half step, whole step. Now, the first sequence when we descend down, we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, down to our A string, 1, 2, 3, down to our D string, 1, 2, 3. Now, once we hit that 6th fret on our D string, we're gonna start to pull off at this point. So we've gone. So now that we've hit that 6th fret up here, we're gonna pull off to that 4th fret on our D string, pull off to that 3rd fret on the D string, hammer on to that 6th fret on our A, pull off to that 4 on our A, and then pull off to that 3 on our A. So the whole sequence all together. Now we start that same thing over again, starting on the A string this time. Same thing again, starting on the D string. So on and so forth. And you want to practice this idea with all of these shapes, right? Now we can start to get into a more of a practical sense now that we have some foundational knowledge under our belt, a sequence pattern that we can utilize. I've always liked to take something like a major scale in the Ionian shape. So that's the shape we're going to be using. If for context, I'll have some tabs up here or somewhere. But we can start on that 3rd fret or that G. We're going to go 3, 5, 7, scoot down to the A, 3, 5, 7, scoot down to D, 4, 5, 7, scoot down to G, 4, 5, 7, scoot down to B, 5, 7, 8, and then our high E, 5, 7, 8. So that all together is that Ionian mode major scale, so to speak. That's the kind of shape that we're thinking about. Now let's take that same pattern that we utilized with that shape. So if we take that pattern we took, and we're going to play it with our G major scale now. So we could go. There's our first pattern. Second pattern. Third pattern. And just add a slide up on the end of that just to add a little bit of sass to it. But you start getting some repetition of that, start getting used to those hammer-ons and pull-offs with these 3-note shapes. You can really start to speed that up. So that's the idea for this lesson, is just to kind of break in, dip your toes into the water as far as the 3-note legato. This is just kind of, barely scratching the surface. When we talk about legato, it's real important to try to be as fluid and as seamless as you can. And one of the problems that I've encountered is taking these, and whenever you have these hammer-ons and pull-offs, you have to really adjust this picking hand, because what you don't want to try to have is these articulate picking strikes followed by softer. So what you want to try to do is get really used to hammering on, pulling off very consistently, using a very light touch with this picking hand. Now, that's easier said than done. I'm still struggling with this. This is one of those practice routines that I still work out with. But I like to use these legato runs in these different 3-note shapes like you saw in the beginning. Like this is one of my favorites. Super cool, super silky. It's awesome when you can just kind of throw stuff like that into some improv or a solo if you're writing something like that. So I hope this lesson helps you out. I hope that it can kind of help you dip your toes into the water of legato if that's your thing. If that's not your thing and you made it this far, Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you guys for hanging out, and we will check you on